The valley stretched before Commander Cole Harris like a canyon of death. Dust swirled in the dry wind, carrying the metallic scent of blood and spent gunpowder. His SEAL team crouched behind jagged rocks, pinned down by a sprawling network of enemy fire. Machine gun nests raked the terrain with bullets, forcing the men to huddle low, hearts hammering, adrenaline thrumming in every vein. The mission, designed to extract critical intelligence from a downed reconnaissance team, had gone sideways within minutes. Harris scanned the ridge lines, calculating angles, trying to determine how his team could escape without being torn apart. "Suppressing fire," yelled Petty Officer Ramirez, opening up with an M4. The team's position shook with each shot, but the enemy was disciplined, well-positioned, and lethal. Harris could see 3 men in his squad already grazed by rounds, bleeding onto the rocky ground. The odds of survival were slim, and he knew it. And then, almost impossibly, a single shot echoed across the valley. A machine gun nest erupted into sparks of metal and fire. Harris froze, eyes wide. Another shot and another enemy fell, head down, twitching in the dust. "What the hell?" he muttered, scanning the ridges. His heart pounded. His team hadn't called for airstrike. No friendly sniper was deployed in this sector. The shots were too precise, too deliberate, surgical, almost artistic. Through his high-powered scope, he saw her. A lone figure perched on a jagged rock outcrop nearly 2 kilometers away. A female sniper, lean and silent, her dark silhouette blending with the cliff shadows. She moved with fluid precision, raising her rifle, adjusting her aim, and firing again. Each shot hit a target dead center, dropping enemy fighters as if they were marionettes cut from their strings. Cole blinked. "No one should be out there," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the chaos. "No one." The sniper's movements were measured, graceful, and deadly. Her rifle recoiled with minimal motion, her breathing controlled, almost calm, as if she had been born for this. The SEALs, pinned down and staring in disbelief, dared not move. The enemy, meanwhile, scrambled, panicked by the sudden, inexplicable slaughter from a distance. "Who is she?" Cole asked, more to himself than anyone else. Another round cut through the air, eliminating the last of the hostile fire that had trapped his team. A sense of surreal disbelief settled over the SEALs. Harris realized something that sent a chill down his spine. They had just been saved by someone who officially did not exist. Cole called the command channel. "All units, confirm sniper support in this sector." "Static, then. Commander Harris, no sniper teams are deployed in your area." Silence followed, heavier than the gunfire that had just ceased. The team scrambled to retreat, each man aware that moving without cover could be fatal. But the sniper covered them still, each shot dropping a threat before it could even register. Harris motioned them forward, every movement tense, calculated. He watched her, heart hammering, trying to memorize the impossible, the lean figure, the steady aim, the glint of light off her scope. Moments later, she vanished. No warning, no movement toward safety, no extraction, just gone as if she had never been there. Harris's pulse surged. Who was this woman? Why risk her life to save strangers? And most troubling of all, why did she leave no trace, no identification, no communication, nothing? "Commander," Ramirez called, voice trembling. Did you see that? Who?" Harris shook his head, eyes fixed on the ridge. "I don't know, but we just witnessed something impossible." The team moved fast, using the sniper's shots as cover. Every man was alive but shaken. Blood ran warm on their arms and faces, adrenaline mixing with fear. Harris's mind raced. He replayed each shot in his head, each impossible kill. There was no sign of drone support, no tactical airstrike, no forward-deployed sniper teams. Nothing. Yet here she was. By the time the team reached safer ground, the sounds of battle had faded into distant echoes. Harris lowered his scope, feeling the weight of something extraordinary press down on him. The empty ridge lines mocked him with silence. "Do you think she's American?" whispered Ensign Miller, voice barely audible. Harris didn't answer immediately. He shook his head, fighting a sense of awe and unease. I don't know, doesn't matter. What matters is she's out there and she saved us all. He crouched behind a boulder, scanning the valley one last time. His mind returned to her silhouette, to the cold efficiency of her shooting, to the strange, deliberate precision that bordered on artistry. Every instinct told him she wasn't a random operative. She was trained, experienced, elite. Yet there was no record of her, no beacon, no call sign. No one could account for her existence. Then, as the team gathered themselves, Harris caught the faintest flash in the scope's distance, a dark figure slipping over a ridge, disappearing into the night. His pulse quickened again. Someone was watching him. And for the first time, Commander Cole Harris understood a terrifying truth. They had just been saved by a ghost. The team moved out, but Harris stayed a moment longer, peering into the shadowed ridges. Whoever she was out there, somewhere, lethal and silent, and she had deliberately saved his squad. And that meant this was only the beginning. The base camp was eerily quiet. The dust of the valley still clung to the SEALs' uniforms, mingling with sweat, blood, and adrenaline. Commander Cole Harris sat slumped against a concrete bunker, reviewing footage of the previous engagement. Every frame of the sniper's intervention haunted him. Her movements were too precise, too deliberate. She was not just skilled, she was a master of her craft. "Sir, we've got nothing," Petty Officer Ramirez muttered, dropping beside him. "No comms, no drone support, no backup. It's like she didn't exist." Cole shook his head, frustration and disbelief warring in him. "She was out there. She saved us. Someone saved us." The intelligence officer on duty shook his head. "Commander Harris, our satellites and SIGINT confirm no deployed assets in your sector. No friendly snipers. Nothing. You're telling me that an unknown operative, a lone female sniper, just appeared, eliminated half a dozen hostiles and vanished?" "Yes," Cole said flatly, "and every one of those shots was perfect, professional, trained." Silence fell. Then a faint, tremulous voice from the comms officer. "Sir, intercepted chatter, enemy code words, something about the Pale Falcon." Cole froze. The Pale Falcon. "Allegedly, a sniper who only takes out enemy commanders," the officer explained. "They don't know if it's one person, a myth, or a legend, but we're picking up rumors. Your engagement matches the same signature." Cole's stomach tightened. "So this ghost, she saved us deliberately, and she has a name." The team gathered around the screen, watching grainy images from drones and field cameras. In each, the shadowy figure appeared, perched like a predator on cliffs, eliminating targets with terrifying calm. Every shot landed with surgical precision. Her form moved fluidly, almost inhumanly, as though she were part of the wind and the rocks themselves. Ensign Miller broke the tension. "Commander, why would she save us? We're just a squad, nothing special." Cole's jaw tightened. "That's what I need to find out. Why did she risk her life for us, and why now?" Later that night, Cole sat alone in his tent, staring at maps of the valley. His mind replayed every shot, every movement. The Pale Falcon wasn't just a sniper. She was deliberate, almost calculating in her choices. She had ignored civilian targets, focusing only on enemy combatants. The precision, the discipline, it was consistent with U.S. military training. But her lack of identification, her anonymity, it didn't make sense. A sudden alert blinked on his tablet. A humanitarian convoy was under attack in a nearby district. Civilians trapped, lightly defended. Cole's instincts screamed. "We can't get there in time," he muttered. "Not without backup." But backup never came. A whistle of wind, a crack of a rifle, and then silence. Every enemy vehicle was disabled. Every insurgent officer eliminated. Not a single civilian harmed. Cole's heart pounded. She did it again. The team advanced cautiously, using the cleared path. At the sniper's previous position, they found a single item left behind, a U.S. military challenge coin. It was scratched and worn. Cole picked it up, recognizing the insignia immediately. It was from Operation Silent Dagger, a covert mission he had led years ago, a mission that had ended in betrayal and disaster. His pulse spiked. Could it be? Could she, Mara Vance, still be alive? The memory hit him like a bullet. Mara had been elite, top of her class, a sniper with unmatched skill, declared dead during Silent Dagger, officially killed in action. But Cole had never seen her body. And now, evidence suggested she had survived, operating in secret with no allegiance except to some personal code. Cole felt a mix of awe and guilt. He had led the operation, unknowingly contributing to her team's annihilation. And now she was here, silent and deadly, intervening just in time to save him and his men. "Sir," Ramirez whispered, noticing Cole's expression, "do you know her?" Cole shook his head slowly. "I knew of her years ago. She disappeared during Silent Dagger. Everyone thought she was dead, but if this is Mara, she's alive, and she's operating alone." A shiver ran down his spine. The Pale Falcon was not just a myth, she was real, and she had chosen them deliberately to save them. The thought was as exhilarating as it was terrifying. Then came the unspoken realization. If she had been abandoned during Silent Dagger, if someone had deliberately erased her existence, she wasn't just a ghost. She was seeking something, or someone, and they were next. Cole closed his eyes, imagining her silhouette against the cliffs, her rifle steady, her eyes scanning for threats. Every instinct screamed that she was operating with a purpose far beyond what any of them could comprehend. The wind howled outside the tent, carrying the faint, metallic scent of gunpowder and dust. Cole's fingers tightened around the challenge coin. She had left a signature, a message only he could understand. It was personal. Somewhere out there, Mara Vance, the Pale Falcon, was watching, waiting, calculating, silent. And Cole knew that this encounter was only the first chapter of something much larger, something dangerous and possibly lethal. He had survived her first intervention, but he realized with a cold certainty that surviving was not the point. Understanding her, finding her, and discovering her purpose would be the true test. The night pressed in around him, and as he stared at the stars above, Cole Harris knew one unshakable truth. The Pale Falcon was real, she was alive, and she was coming for something, and soon he would be part of her mission, whether he wanted to be or not. Outside, the valley remained silent, but Cole's mind raced. Somewhere unseen, she moved. The ghost of Silent Dagger, untouchable, invisible, unstoppable. And the next encounter would decide who lived and who died. The sun rose over the rugged valley, painting jagged cliffs in blood-red light. Commander Cole Harris sat in the forward operations tent, staring at satellite images, still reeling from the night's events. The Pale Falcon was no myth. She was real, lethal, and precise. Every shot she fired was calculated, every move deliberate. But the question gnawed at him. Why now, after years of silence? His mind drifted back, unbidden, to Operation Silent Dagger. Years ago, deep inside hostile territory, Cole had led a covert strike meant to neutralize a high-value target. The mission had been classified surgical high risk, and it had ended in catastrophe. Mara Vance, the unit's elite sniper, had been declared dead in the chaos. Official reports listed her KIA. Her body had never been recovered. He had mourned her, even as guilt ate at him. Now, looking at the footage of the Pale Falcon, the memory surged back with vivid clarity. Mara's calm precision under pressure, her unwavering focus, her deadly accuracy. Every movement, every stance mirrored what he now saw through drone feeds and thermal scopes. His heart pounded. Could it be her? Impossible, yet undeniable. "Commander," whispered Petty Officer Ramirez, breaking his trance. "We've run all checks. SIGINT, satellite imaging, recon drones, nothing accounts for her presence. She's not on our manifest. No biometrics, no ID. She's invisible." Cole shook his head, gripping the edge of the table. "I know who she is, or at least I think I do. Mara Vance. Silent Dagger, she survived." The intelligence officer raised an eyebrow. "Survived, sir, she was declared dead. Every file confirms it. You're saying she faked it." "I'm saying she's alive," Cole said quietly, staring at the grainy footage again. "And she has a reason for being here. I just don't know what it is yet." The team sat in tense silence, the hum of computers filling the room. Cole's thoughts spiraled. Mara had been betrayed during Silent Dagger. The mission had been compromised by a leak within command, and the fallout had been catastrophic. Most of her team had been slaughtered. And yet, she survived, vanished from all records, and had now reappeared, intervening just in time to save his squad. "Why us?" Ensign Miller asked. "We're just one squad, nothing special." Cole's jaw tightened. "Because she knows something, or she's testing something, and we're in the middle of it." As he pondered, a scrambled transmission hit his secure line. The words were barely audible, distorted and broken by static. "You left us." Then nothing, silence. Cole's chest tightened. The voice unmistakable, Mara, alive and angry, betrayed. His heart raced as guilt, fear, and determination collided. He had been part of the chain of command that unknowingly contributed to her team's demise. And now, years later, she had returned not to him, but for something far larger. He grabbed a field notebook, sketching her approximate positions, possible escape routes, and likely patterns. Every instinct screamed that this was not random. Mara was calculating, patient, methodical. She moved like a predator, unseen, untouchable, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. Cole's mind flashed back to the challenge coin she had left at the convoy site. Scratched, worn unmistakably from Silent Dagger, a signature, a message, a warning. She was telling him something without saying it, and he had to understand. Hours later, the base erupted with a flurry of alerts. Another convoy, this time carrying humanitarian supplies, had been ambushed. Cole's team raced to mobilize, but he hesitated. The Pale Falcon had intervened before, eliminating threats with 0 civilian casualties. If she acted again, he needed to be ready. And then he saw her through drone feeds, perched on a ridge distant yet unmistakable. Mara Vance. Cold, precise, deadly. Her eyes scanned the valley as she calculated shots with terrifying efficiency. Enemy vehicles went down, insurgents fell, civilians remained untouched. Every move screamed of vengeance and skill honed by years of survival in the shadows. Cole's pulse surged. She had acted deliberately with purpose. And once again she vanished before he could reach her. No trace, no signature, nothing but empty rock and dust. That night Cole couldn't sleep. He reviewed every detail of Silent Dagger, every mission brief, every team roster. Every betrayal came flooding back. The leaks, the betrayal from within, the team wiped out while command turned a blind eye. He had witnessed it, and yet had been powerless. Mara had survived that disaster, and now she was acting outside every chain of command, outside every rule, a phantom of vengeance. His thoughts were interrupted by Ramirez. "Sir, do you think she'll come back?" Cole didn't answer immediately. He clenched the challenge coin in his hand, remembering her calculated precision and the words carved into the rocks. No rank, no country, only balance. "I don't know," he said finally, voice low. "But if she does, we need to be ready. And we need to understand her before it's too late. Because when she moves again, it won't just be about saving people, it will be about hunting someone. And I fear we might be part of that path." Outside, the wind howled across the valley. Dust and rock shifted under its force, carrying with it the memory of the night's impossible intervention. Cole stared into the darkness, knowing with certainty that Mara Vance, the Pale Falcon, was watching, waiting, calculating. And one thought burned in his mind, relentless, terrifying. He had survived her first intervention, but the real test was coming, and it would be unlike anything he had ever faced. The night stretched on, silent and foreboding, and somewhere in the shadows Mara prepared for the next move, unseen, untouchable, unstoppable. Cole Harris understood one truth above all. The legend of the Pale Falcon was real, and soon the shadows of Silent Dagger would reach him again, Dawn broke over the jagged mountains, painting the peaks with crimson light. Commander Cole Harris studied the valley through his scope, eyes scanning every ridge, every crevice, every shadow. Mara Vance, the pale falcon, was out there. He knew it. Every fiber of his being screamed that she was moving with intent, calculating, precise, lethal. His team was ready, but the fear was palpable. They had survived her first intervention, but now they were entering territory where rules didn't exist, and Mara operated by her own code. Ignoring orders from command, Cole assembled a small recon unit. "We're going in," he said firmly, jaw tight. "We're not waiting for approval. She's out there and we need answers before someone else does." Ramirez exchanged a worried glance. "Sir, this is reckless. You've seen her operate. She doesn't play by our rules." Cole's eyes didn't leave the valley. "I know. That's why we follow her trail and we stay alive by understanding it." The team moved cautiously, using the rocky outcrops as cover. Each step echoed in their ears, each rustle of gravel raising pulses. Enemy forces were known to patrol these heights, but Cole had to find Mara before they did, or before someone else discovered her first. Every instinct told him that she was hunting, but not for them. She was a predator moving on her own mission, and he and his men were pawns caught in her world. Suddenly, a flurry of gunfire erupted from a ridge ahead. Bullets whistled past, ricocheting against rock faces, forcing the SEALs to dive for cover. "Ambush!" shouted Ramirez, firing back. The enemy had them pinned, and it looked like the unit was about to be decimated. Cole's mind raced. Their training, skill, and coordination were strong, but they were outnumbered, and the terrain favored the enemy. Survival seemed unlikely. Then, like a phantom, precise gunfire erupted from a distant outcrop. Enemy soldiers fell one by one, incapacitated before they could aim at Cole's team. Each shot was surgical, calculated, and deadly. Cole's heart pounded as he realized the truth. Mara Vance herself had entered the battlefield. The pale falcon, the ghost of Silent Dagger. She moved like liquid shadow, eliminating threats without hesitation or error. Cole raised his scope, eyes locking on her for the first time in daylight. Her face was cold, unreadable, framed by windswept hair, eyes scanning the terrain with lethal precision. Every movement was deliberate, controlled, calculated, the mark of someone who had survived death, betrayal, and loss, and now existed beyond allegiance or rank. Cole felt a strange mixture of awe and fear. The firefight continued around them, but Mara's interventions were deliberate. She ignored Cole's team entirely, focusing only on neutralizing the enemy. It was a message, not a rescue. She was in command here, and everyone else was merely collateral in her battlefield. When she repositioned, Cole noticed a symbol etched into the rock near her firing nest. No rank, no country, only balance. He swallowed hard. Mara was no longer a soldier of the United States. She had abandoned flags, allegiances, and orders. She answered only to a code of her own making, a personal morality shaped by betrayal and survival. Her actions were precise, her judgment lethal. Cole knew they had been spared not out of loyalty, but because they fit into her design. "Sir," Ramirez's voice trembled beside him, She's not one of us. She doesn't answer to anyone." Cole didn't reply immediately. He lowered the scope slowly, heart racing, thoughts tangled in years of memory and regret. Mara Vance had survived Silent Dagger when no one else had. She had watched her team slaughtered, abandoned by her own command. Now she existed in the shadows, a ghost of vengeance and justice. The thought that she could kill them too, if she saw fit, was terrifying. The firefight ended abruptly, enemy forces eliminated with surgical precision. Mara disappeared again, slipping silently into the mountain shadows, leaving only dust and echoes behind. Cole signaled the team to advance cautiously. He wanted to follow, to confront her, but the terrain and her unpredictability made it nearly impossible. As they moved forward, Cole's mind raced. Why had she appeared here? Why had she acted with such precision, yet no communication, no acknowledgement, nothing to indicate a shared purpose? She had saved lives, but she had also sent a clear message. She operated by her own rules, and anyone crossing her path would be judged on her terms. Cole paused at a rocky outcrop, scanning the cliffs where she had perched. The wind carried a metallic scent, faint but unmistakable, gunpowder and iron. Somewhere in those mountains she waited, watching, calculating. And he knew with chilling certainty that the next encounter would not be passive. She would test him, probe him, judge him, and he had no choice but to rise to her challenge. He clenched his fists, feeling a mixture of determination, awe, and dread. Mara Vance had no allegiance, no rank, no flag, and yet somehow she commanded respect that transcended orders, hierarchy, and even loyalty. Cole realized a hard truth. If he was to survive, if his team was to survive, he would have to understand her motives, her code, and perhaps even gain her trust. As night fell over the jagged peaks, Cole could see distant movement on the horizon, a shadow that melted into the mountain. His pulse quickened. Mara had not left. She had merely waited for the perfect moment to act again. Cole Harris understood something vital in that moment. The pale falcon was alive, more deadly than any legend and entirely unpredictable. She did not fight for country, orders, or medals. She fought for herself, for justice, and for the ghosts of her past. And now, he and his team were caught in her orbit, moving through a battlefield where survival depended not just on skill, but on understanding the ghost who ruled these mountains. The wind howled through the valley, carrying dust and the scent of gunfire. Somewhere unseen, Mara watched. She was patient, lethal, and untouchable. Cole knew one thing with certainty. The next move she made would change everything. And when it came, there would be no second chances. The night air was heavy with the scent of dust and gunpowder. Commander Cole Harris crouched behind a boulder, scanning the jagged mountain ridges. Mara Vance, the pale falcon, had vanished again, leaving only her signature precision behind. Her presence was both salvation and a puzzle. Every instinct in Cole screamed that she wasn't just hunting enemies. She was hunting something far larger. Hours earlier, intelligence analysts had delivered a shocking revelation. Operation Silent Dagger, the mission that had claimed Mara's team years ago, had not been a casualty of enemy fire. It had been compromised from within. High-ranking officials had sold mission intelligence for political leverage, leaving Mara's squad stranded and slaughtered. Cole had unknowingly signed one of the cancellation orders. The weight of guilt pressed on him. He had been part of the bureaucracy that betrayed her, and now she had returned, silent and deadly, her allegiance to no one but herself. The realization churned in his stomach. Mara wasn't just a ghost of war, she was a reckoning, a reminder of the sins of men in power. Cole's mind raced. He thought back to the moments during Silent Dagger. Mara, perched on a ridge, eyes like a hawk, watching over the team, the calm professionalism she exuded even as the mission imploded. He remembered giving orders, trusting intelligence that had been tainted, and watching as the team was ambushed. Her disappearance had left a permanent scar, one he hadn't confronted until now. A soft sound behind him made Cole spin. Ramirez and Miller were crouched close, weapons raised, tension etched into their faces. "Sir, the intel, it's worse," Ramirez whispered. "Someone high up sold them out. Mara, she's alive because she survived their betrayal. She's operating outside the chain of command. If we cross her, or if she thinks we represent the people who abandoned her, we're dead." Cole exhaled sharply, gripping his rifle tighter. "I know. That's why we need to approach carefully. She's not just a sniper, she's the consequence of our failure." A distant crack of a rifle echoed across the valley. The team froze. Cole's eyes scanned the ridges. There, on a distant outcrop, a shadow shifted. Mara. She was watching them, silently evaluating. Her presence alone commanded authority, even fear. Every instinct in Cole told him to proceed with caution, yet he couldn't let this pass. They had to confront her. They had to understand her purpose. Cole signaled the team forward. Each step was measured, deliberate, careful. Mara had left clues, scattered and cryptic, indicating her movements. She was leading them not just through the mountains, but into the story she had been scripting since Silent Dagger. Hours passed. The shadows deepened, the valley darkened, and the wind carried the metallic scent of distant gunfire. Then, without warning, Mara reappeared in a clearing ahead, perched on a ridge like a hawk. Her rifle was raised, trained on a distant target, eyes scanning. She moved with the grace of someone untouchable, lethal, and unafraid. Cole stepped forward, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "Mara," he called. "It's Cole, Commander Harris. I need to talk." Her eyes flicked toward him, calculating, unreadable. For a long moment she said nothing. Then slowly she lowered her rifle, not fully, but enough to indicate she had noticed him. "You left us," she said, her voice calm, icy, and precise. "You left my team to die. You watched us fall, and now you follow me." Cole swallowed hard. "I didn't know, I couldn't, but I'm here now. I need to understand, and I need to help." Mara's gaze didn't soften. "Help," she repeated, almost laughing. "Help. You think after betrayal, after death, after being abandoned, that you can offer help." Cole's chest tightened. "I know I can't undo the past, but we can stop what's happening now. There's corruption, people profiting from war, selling intelligence, betraying soldiers. You've seen it. I can help you stop it." Her eyes narrowed. Cole could see the weight of every loss, every betrayal she had endured. He realized then that Mara didn't operate by allegiance, rank, or country. She answered only to her own code, justice, and anyone who stepped in her way, even unintentionally, would face her judgment. A sudden crack of a rifle echoed again, this time from another ridge. Mara moved instantly, eliminating the threat with effortless precision. Cole watched, awestruck. The pale falcon was unstoppable, operating outside all known rules of engagement. Every shot she fired was a message. Survival was not granted. It was earned, measured by skill, courage, and judgment. Cole realized the truth. Mara wasn't just fighting the enemy, she was punishing betrayal, executing her version of justice. And he was in the middle of it. As the firefight subsided, Mara turned to him, her eyes locking with his. "You want to help? Then follow my lead. Don't step out of line. Don't question me. And don't betray me or your life ends here." Cole nodded slowly. He understood. He had survived, but now he had to earn her trust. Every step forward would be dangerous, every decision a potential death sentence. And yet, for the first time, he felt purpose beyond his mission. To survive, to aid her, and to confront the corruption that had destroyed Silent Dagger. The night descended fully, cloaking the mountains in darkness. Mara vanished into the shadows, leaving only a faint outline of movement. Cole and his team followed cautiously, aware that every step brought them deeper into her world, a world without rank, without flag, without mercy. Cole's pulse raced as he watched the empty ridge where she had stood. Mara Vance, the pale falcon, had returned. She had returned not for allegiance, not for medals, not for orders, but for vengeance, for justice, for herself. And Cole understood one chilling truth. They were now part of her mission, and if they failed to respect her rules, survive her tests, and earn her trust, they would die. Somewhere in the mountains unseen, she waited, patient, precise, unstoppable. And Cole Harris knew that the betrayal that had haunted Silent Dagger was far from over. The wind tore through the mountain canyons like a living thing, carrying dust, debris, and the faint metallic scent of spent ammunition. Commander Cole Harris crouched low, scanning the horizon with his binoculars. Mara Vance, the pale falcon, had reappeared moments ago, perched high above, eyes cold and unflinching. Cole's team moved cautiously behind him, every step measured, weapons ready. After the night's revelations about betrayal, corruption, and Mara's lethal independence, survival wasn't just about skill. It was about understanding her code. "Sir," whispered Ramirez, voice tight, "she's watching us. Every move, any wrong step, and she won't hesitate." Cole nodded, jaw tight. "I know, but she's also letting us survive. That's our chance. We follow her lead, stay out of her way, and maybe we gain her trust." Hours earlier, during a harrowing ambush, Mara had appeared like a shadow, eliminating an enemy squad with surgical precision. Cole had watched in awe as she moved effortlessly across open terrain, each shot a calculated masterpiece of timing, distance, and deadly accuracy. She had shielded his team from a barrage of fire, yet never acknowledged him, never made a gesture of alliance. Her loyalty was to no one but herself. Now, as night fell over the jagged cliffs, Cole and his squad trailed her movements, careful not to disturb her rhythm. Mara's presence was unnerving, a constant reminder that they were outsiders in a world she controlled. Every rustle of a leaf, every shift of rock beneath their feet made Cole's pulse spike. One wrong move, and the deadly sniper who operated beyond rules could make them casualties in her mission. They paused at a narrow ridge. Below, a group of heavily armed insurgents had gathered, unaware of Mara's vantage. She moved silently, eliminating the threats before they could detect her. Each shot echoed, precise and fatal. Cole couldn't look away. Her efficiency, speed, and calm under pressure were beyond anything he had seen. "She's amazing," Miller whispered, "like she's everywhere and nowhere at once." Cole didn't answer. He was studying her tactics, her timing, her patterns. He realized something vital. She wasn't just shooting targets. She was teaching them. Every action, every decision she made was an unspoken lesson in survival, observation, and lethal precision. If they wanted to make it out alive, they had to learn from her fast. Suddenly, a drone whirred overhead, enemy surveillance. Mara's head tilted slightly. A single, almost imperceptible movement and the drone exploded in midair. No warning, no hesitation. The squad flinched. Ramirez muttered under his breath, "She's untouchable." Cole knew the truth. They had to follow her. And for the first time he felt something like trust, cautious, wary, but necessary. The pale falcon wasn't just a sniper. She was a force of nature, a predator moving through shadows, and they had to move with her, not against her. Hours later, they encountered an enemy convoy, heavily armed and well-organized. Cole signaled for cover. Mara's shadow appeared on a ridge above, rifle raised, eyes scanning, analyzing. Her first shot took out the convoy's driver. The second disabled a communications vehicle. Chaos erupted among the enemy ranks, bullets flying in all directions. Cole's team advanced carefully, using the openings Mara created. "Stay low," Cole shouted, firing on insurgents who hadn't noticed him. Mara's shots cleared the path, each strike calculated to minimize risk to civilians and allies. It was as if she had choreographed the entire battlefield. As the convoy fell, Cole noticed Mara assessing him through her scope. For the first time, he felt her presence directed at him personally, evaluating, judging. She wasn't hostile, but neither was she an ally. She was a force he had to earn, and he realized that trust with her would be the difference between life and death. The firefight ended. The insurgents were neutralized, casualties minimal. Cole signaled for his team to regroup. Mara appeared briefly at the edge of the clearing, then vanished into the shadows once more. She left behind a small, faintly carved symbol on a rock, a mark they recognized from Silent Dagger. It was a sign. She was acknowledging them, subtly, silently. Cole exhaled slowly. He had survived alongside her, but the lesson was clear. She operated by her own rules. To survive the coming days, he had to follow, observe, and adapt to her rhythm. Every instinct, every decision, every movement had to align with her code. "Sir," Ramirez whispered, voice low, "do you think she trusts us at all?" Cole didn't answer immediately. He clenched his fist around the challenge coin Mara had left behind earlier. He realized that trust would not be given, it would be earned. Slowly, carefully. Every step they took now was a test, every choice measured against the ghost who ruled the shadows. Night deepened, cloaking the valley in darkness. Mara moved ahead, unseen, untouchable. Cole and his team followed at a distance, each step silent, tense, calculated. They were no longer simply soldiers executing orders. They were now part of her battlefield, participants in a game dictated by her skill, her rules, and her judgment. Cole's mind raced. Mara's mission was larger than any of them could see. She hunted corruption, betrayal, and death with relentless precision. And now, by following her, they were drawn into her world, a world where mistakes meant immediate consequences and survival required complete adaptation. As they moved deeper into the mountains, Cole understood one undeniable truth. Mara Vance was a predator and they were her apprentices for now. Every step forward would test their skill, courage, and loyalty. And somewhere in the shadows, unseen, she was watching, ready to strike if they faltered. Cole glanced at his team, their faces tense, eyes wide. He felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. To survive, to learn, and to aid Mara, he had to navigate the delicate balance between following her lead and staying alive. One wrong step, one misjudged movement, and they would join the countless others who had fallen before her, unknown and unrecorded. Somewhere ahead in the shadows of the jagged peaks, Mara Vance, the pale falcon, waited. Patient, calculating, unstoppable. Cole knew this alliance, fragile, dangerous, and necessary, would determine not only their survival but the fate of everything Mara was hunting. And for the first time, he understood the weight of following a ghost. Allies in shadows were never safe, but sometimes survival demanded it. Night had swallowed the jagged mountains. Shadows pooled like ink in the valleys, and the air was thick with dust, gunpowder, and anticipation. Commander Cole Harris moved cautiously behind Mara Vance, the pale falcon, her presence a constant, silent command. They had followed her across hostile territory, surviving ambushes, sniper fire, and treacherous terrain, but now the stakes were higher. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was personal, and it was about justice. Intelligence had confirmed the extent of the corruption. Rogue contractors, high-ranking officials, and mercenaries profiting from war. Silent Dagger had been sabotaged, not by the enemy but by men in power, feeding conflicts for money and influence. Mara's team had been betrayed, her squad wiped out, and now, years later, she hunted the perpetrators one by one. Cole crouched low, his pulse pounding. Every instinct screamed caution, but every shred of duty demanded he follow her. He had survived her intervention so far, but he realized now that survival wasn't enough. To make it through the night, to honor the ghosts of Silent Dagger, he had to act with precision, trust her completely, and match her lethal efficiency, all while keeping his team alive. Ahead in the fortified compound of a rogue contractor, Mara's silhouette emerged from the shadows. Her rifle scanned the perimeter, eyes cold and unflinching. She was poised, lethal, and utterly unstoppable. Cole signaled his team to halt. The enemy was numerous, heavily armed, and prepared for attack. Any misstep could mean instant death. Mara moved first. A series of precise, silent shots eliminated sentries on the compound walls. Cole watched, awestruck, as she combined stealth, speed, and lethal accuracy to clear the path. He realized she wasn't just a sniper. She was a strategist, orchestrating the battlefield with surgical efficiency. Every shot, every movement was deliberate, reducing risk to him and his men while maximizing impact on the enemy. Cole signaled his team forward. They followed her lead, using the openings she created. The firefight erupted with brutal intensity. Bullets tore through the air, shattering walls and sending debris flying. Cole felt the familiar sting of adrenaline as he engaged enemy combatants, covering his team while Mara continued her deadly sweep from above. Amid the chaos, Mara moved like a shadow, eliminating key targets with unerring precision. Her rifle roared, every shot calculating distance, wind, and timing perfectly. Cole realized that she was not just hunting enemies. She was executing a judgment that stretched back years, to the betrayal that had destroyed Silent Dagger. Each kill was a message, a reckoning, a reminder that betrayal carried consequences. Then it happened. A reinforced door burst open and more mercenaries poured into the courtyard. Cole's team opened fire, taking cover behind overturned crates and walls. Mara shifted positions, covering them with lethal efficiency. Bullets tore through the night, sparks flying as they struck metal and stone. Cole was wounded, a graze across his shoulder, but he gritted his teeth and pressed forward. Survival depended on him keeping his focus, trusting Mara, and moving in perfect synchronization with her deadly rhythm. As the last of the enemy forces fell, Mara approached Cole. Her eyes, icy and unreadable, met his. For a fleeting moment, time slowed. He saw in her gaze both judgment and acknowledgement. Then, in a gesture that shocked him, she allowed him to salute her. Not as a commander saluting a subordinate, not as a soldier respecting protocol, but as an equal, a peer who had earned recognition through courage, skill, and survival. The gesture was brief, silent, but profound. Cole felt a surge of respect and awe unlike anything he had experienced in his military career. Mara Vance, the Pale Falcon, had recognized him, not for rank, not for medals, not for allegiance, but for understanding her code, for surviving, and for fighting alongside her. Extraction was precarious. Helicopters could arrive at any moment, yet enemy reinforcements were still on the move. Mara moved to cover Cole as he transmitted classified evidence to trusted journalists, ensuring global exposure of the corruption. The contractors, the rogue officials, and the mercenaries had no chance to escape. Their reign of betrayal and death would end here tonight, in the shadows Mara commanded. Bullets tore past them as they moved to the extraction point. Mara shielded Cole from a lethal round, taking the brunt of the shot herself. Pain shot through her side, but she remained upright, guiding him through the chaos with unwavering precision. Cole realized then that she had risked everything, not just for justice, but for him. Their survival depended on complete trust, coordination, and understanding. The helicopters arrived just in time to evacuate the wounded and secure the battlefield. Mara remained officially unaccounted for, her presence a ghostly secret to the world. Cole, his team, and the journalists were extracted, leaving Mara behind, vanished once more into the shadows. As dawn broke over the mountains, Cole watched from the helicopter as the valley receded beneath him. He felt a strange mixture of relief, grief, and admiration. Mara had accomplished her mission, but at a cost. Her independence, skill, and moral code had shaped the battlefield, but she remained beyond reach, beyond rank, beyond recognition. In that moment, Cole realized the truth. Some heroes do not wear uniforms. Some legends have no flag, no name in the records, no recognition in history books. Mara Vance was one of those heroes, a force of justice and vengeance, operating in the shadows, untouchable, unstoppable, unforgettable. Cole saluted the empty ridge where she had fought, knowing the gesture was more than honor. It was respect, gratitude, and acknowledgement of a bond forged in the crucible of combat, trust, and shared survival. Somewhere Mara waited, silent, precise, untouchable. The Pale Falcon would always be out there, hunting corruption, betrayal, and injustice wherever it lingered, and the world would never know her name, not officially, but Cole would never forget. And with that thought, he understood the highest truth of the battlefield. Survival was fleeting, victories were temporary, but honor, respect, and courage, even unrecognized, endured forever. The sun had barely risen over the valley when Commander Cole Harris stepped onto the observation deck of the Forward Operations Base. The night's chaos lingered in his mind. The firefight, Mara's precision, the betrayal exposed, and the impossible trust forged between them. Around him, his SEAL team moved with a quiet intensity, wounded but alive. The battlefield had been won, corruption exposed, but one truth remained. Mara Vance, the Pale Falcon, was still out there, untouchable, unseen, and beyond the rules of war. Cole's hands rested on the challenge coin Mara had left him, scratched, worn, a symbol of survival and judgment. He had held it through firefights, through ambushes, through the valley of betrayal, and now it felt heavier than ever. It represented everything they had survived, everything they had witnessed, and the unspoken bond forged in shadows with a woman who did not acknowledge allegiance or rank. His thoughts drifted to her first appearance in the valley, perched on a ridge like a living shadow, saving them all with a precision that seemed impossible. No one else had been there. No drones, no backup, no call signs, only her, the pale falcon. She had acted on her own code, choosing who lived and who fell. She had saved his squad not because of orders but because she had deemed it necessary. Cole's mind replayed every moment of their journey together. Mara's first deliberate intervention, the chase through the jagged mountains, the ambushes, the firefights, and finally, the showdown in the contractor compound. Every encounter had tested them, challenged them, forced them to adapt, to trust, to survive. And through it all, Mara had remained elusive, deadly, and almost impossibly calm. A force of judgment operating outside every known law, every chain of command. A faint breeze carried the scent of dust and gunpowder, a reminder of what they had survived. Cole stepped to the edge of the observation deck, scanning the mountains where she had disappeared. Somewhere out there, Mara waited, watching, calculating, untouchable, and Cole knew that she always would. He clenched the coin tightly. She had left it for him deliberately, a silent acknowledgement. Not for rank, not for protocol, not for recognition, but a recognition of understanding, of survival, of shared purpose. Mara's code had allowed them to live, to expose the corruption, to survive the valley that had claimed so many. And yet, she remained a ghost, untouchable, beyond the reach of medals or history. Cole lowered his gaze to the base below. Intelligence reports were streaming in, confirming the contractors had been neutralized, rogue officials exposed, and evidence secured for prosecution. The mission was officially over, yet in his mind the war wasn't finished. Mara's path was her own, untethered to military structure, her justice unbound. He realized that the world would never see her. They would never know her name. But her presence had altered everything. The lives saved, the corruption ended, the reckoning delivered. A soft, almost imperceptible movement caught his attention. For a heartbeat, he thought he saw her silhouette on a distant ridge, rifle slung, hair catching the sun like a shadow moving against the light. And then, just as quickly, she vanished, a ghost once more, leaving only memory and legend behind. Cole's lips tightened into a small, knowing smile. Mara had acted with purpose, with judgment, and with clarity. She had challenged them, tested their instincts, and forced them to confront what true courage and trust meant. He realized that surviving her world wasn't just about skill. It was about understanding, patience, and respect. He reached for his radio, calling his team together. "Listen up," he said, voice steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through him. "We made it. All of you survived because we adapted, because we trusted each other, and because we followed her lead. That's how you survive a ghost, by respecting her rules and moving with purpose." Ramirez nodded, wiping sweat and dust from his brow. "Sir, do you think we'll ever see her again?" Cole shook his head slowly. "I don't know, but one thing's certain: she left a mark on us. Not just the mission, not just survival, but the way we see justice, the way we fight, and the way we understand the battlefield. Mara Vance, the pale falcon, is untouchable, but her lesson, that stays with us." He stepped to the edge again, saluting toward the distant ridges. It was a gesture of respect, a silent acknowledgement to a warrior who had no rank, no flag, and no place in history, yet had commanded more respect than any general, any commander, any soldier ever could. The wind swept across the deck, carrying the echoes of gunfire, the scent of dust and sweat, and the memory of a woman who had turned shadows into justice. Cole felt the weight of the moment, understanding fully that Mara had not acted for recognition. She had acted for balance, for judgment, for a code only she could follow. And that code had saved lives, delivered justice, and left an indelible mark on everyone who had crossed her path. Cole lowered his hand from the salute, the weight of the challenge coin pressing into his palm. He looked at his team, alive, breathing, and changed by the ordeal. "We survived because she allowed us to," he said quietly. "But we'll remember because she demanded it. That's the difference between life and legend." The mountains lay still below, shadows stretching across the ridges, untouched by time. Somewhere in the wilderness, Mara Vance moved again, a ghost in motion, a force beyond rank, beyond allegiance, beyond comprehension. Cole Harris knew he would never see her officially, never file her name in the records, never gain recognition for her interventions. But that didn't matter. He had witnessed history written in silence, justice delivered in shadows, and courage embodied in a single, enigmatic woman. And as the sun climbed higher, Cole understood the final truth. Some heroes leave no trace. Some legends never speak. Some warriors, like Mara Vance, exist beyond the boundaries of rank, country, and recognition, but their impact lasts forever. Cole exhaled slowly, saluting one last time toward the distant ridges. The pale falcon had vanished again, leaving only memory, respect, and a silent promise. The world would never know her name, but no one who survived her would ever forget the ghost who saved them. And somewhere out there, Mara Vance, untouchable, unstoppable, unrecognized, continued her silent vigil. A woman without a flag, a sniper without identity, a legend beyond rank.